that. If you're black and you voted for Trump or you're still supporting Trump, you are delusional.
Do you guys find it interesting that all the cities that Donald Trump is threatening to deploy troops happen to be cities that have black mayors? Is that just a coincidence? He mentioned Chicago. Of course, he mentions DC. He mentions Baltimore. All run by very intelligent and what I would consider very good people that happen to be black. Is that just a coincidence? I'm just curious because in all these cities, crime rate has pummeled. It's been dropping. For instance, in DC, the crime rate in DC as a whole the last couple of years has gone down 8%, but violent crime just in the last year and a half or so is down 26%, which is a great thing. We should all be celebrating that. So why is Donald Trump only choosing the cities run by black people that happen to be Democrats? Now, I want you guys to think about that. Now, obviously, he wants us talking about this, and he doesn't want us talking about some other things. But why does he choose these cities that are run by black people? Think about that for a moment.
Every single thing that Kamala Harris warned us about if Donald Trump was elected president is happening right now. And every single thing that Donald Trump said would happen if Kamala Harris was elected president is what is happening under his presidency. Kamala Harris told us that Donald Trump was going to deploy U.S. troops on U.S. citizens, and he already did that. Kamala Harris told us that Donald Trump was going to start a war with Iran. That has already happened. Kamala Harris told us that Donald Trump was going to strip millions of people from their health care. And now Republicans have just signed a bill to make sure that is going to happen. Every single thing that Kamala Harris said would happen during a Donald Trump presidency is happening. But this country will continue to not believe what a black woman would say, but believe what a white man who's been credibly accused of sexual assault multiple times, instead of just believing a black woman. Black women are the most educated and most intelligent women in this country. And until we start believing them, this is exactly what is going to continue happening.
DJT was never for the black people. And you could tell even from his campaigns, black Americans knew it, a lot of them, and they warned white people, they warned Americans. But there's some black people who didn't listen about that. And even white people, some of them came out and warned black Americans or black people on voting to the DJT. Right now, DJT is putting out laws that he is trying to bring black people back to the field. He's trying to oppress black people. And I have videos of white people who have come out and say, you know what, my brothers and sisters, never trust this man. Never trust DJT anymore because he is not for you. And now, this is something that black people have been knowing for long, but the fact that it's coming from their own, it is somehow stronger than people may think. Because this is what I'm going to talk on this video today. When white people start warning black people about another white man in power, the situation must be deep. Because the truth is, they usually protect each other. But when some of them start pulling the alarm, it means the damage has gotten so real that even their own comfort is shaking. But here's my message to you before I play you the videos and then I react on it. If Trump is not good for white America, then he's definitely not good for black America. And I'm going to break that down for you today, step by step. But let's watch these clips first. After watching this, I'll come back here with my full commentary. But again, I'd love you to like this video and share it to the people you think may love it.
Let's just keep it real. This is racism. Donald Trump shut down DC. Not because he wants to get rid of the homeless people. Not because he's so concerned about these gangs of young people. No, he shut it down because it's a predominantly black area. And we know, going way back in his history, He does not like black people. That's what this is about. This is about purging. Oh, I'm so mad. Oh my God. This is about purging people of color from that area. And it'll be the first. He'll try more. This is like, people say California was the test. I don't think California was the test. It wasn't strong enough. This is the test, DC. And if we allow this to move forward, we're in trouble. Because he will go after every major city, and he'll go after people of color first. And even though there's been this big immigration hit with our Hispanic brothers and sisters, I feel like for him, with the DC thing, this is about black people specifically. And we know, those of us who have been paying attention, all the protests we've been having for months and months and months, black people have stayed out of it for the most part, which was quite wise. And we all know why. If you don't know why, ask one of your black friends. And everybody should have a black friend and a brown friend. Have lots of them. It's good. Makes you a better person. Diversity. It's good. So let's not let Trump get away with thinking that we're idiots and that we don't see exactly what's going on, what he's trying to do. This will not become an all-white America. No, we are not vanilla. We're not. We were never meant to be vanilla. I don't want vanilla. I want 31 flavors. I'm so mad. This shit pisses me off.
That if you're black and you voted for Trump or you're still supporting Trump, you are delusional. If you think Trump, I've known Trump for 30 years. If you think he's pro-black people, you're completely delusional. I've been to Mar-a-Lago, I don't know how many times, and I've never seen a black person there. And Mar-a-Lago is a huge place. There's 1,000 people there when I used to go there for a fundraiser or an event. Never seen a black person. I've never seen a single black person there. Okay? Trump is not a fan of black people, but you probably didn't see this. If you're still supporting him, you probably didn't see how he snuck this in a couple of days ago. So a couple of days ago, if you're not familiar, Trump pulled back the law that kept federal workers in federal buildings from segregating bathrooms, drinking fountains, work areas from blacks and whites or any other race. Okay, it was always black and white, but that's what the law says. He pulled it. Okay, now we're going back to the days of the early 60s, late 50s, 1950s and before, where there were black water fountains, colored water fountains is what they call them for coloreds, and white water fountains, and restaurants. And now in federal buildings, they can discriminate against you. Okay, let me tell you, if you didn't know that, let me tell you what's next. It's coming. Watch. The Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now, if you don't know your history, that's what Martin Luther King died for, basically. Okay, that's what John Lewis used to march in the streets for. Jesse Jackson, all these guys fought for this to give so people could not discriminate. The government couldn't discriminate, citizens couldn't discriminate, companies couldn't discriminate against people of color. Okay, if he pulls that, we're headed back to 1950. And if you're black, you ain't gonna like it, let me tell you. Okay, I don't know how many of these people that are sending me hate mail that are black are educated people, but if you know your history, I don't see how you're supporting Trump. Wake up before it's too late. It's going to take generations to pull this back together if we ever do. And you don't want to live in a country when you're a black person that's circa 1940, 1950. It was not a pleasant experience. Okay, that's why the civil rights people marched and did all the things they did, because they had real guts. They weren't sitting back. Another thing I'm getting from black people is, oh, well, you can march now. We did it in civil rights. It's your turn. Are you kidding me? If you're not a wealthy white male, he's coming after you. He's coming after your rights. Women, Hispanics, military people as well. They're a minority as well. He has total disdain for the military. I don't know how many times he has to tell you guys how he thinks you're suckers and losers. He said it a million times. Okay, he has no respect for military people. He doesn't understand, and I've had this conversation with him personally over the years. He doesn't understand why people go into the military, risk their lives, basically for politicians that don't know what the hell they're doing half the time anyway. All these kids died in Vietnam, when I was growing up, and we didn't even have a good reason to be there. Okay, so there's a lot, and that's how Trump feels. He thinks you're suckers. In the last couple of days, I've gotten tons of hate mail from black Trump voters. Now, right off the bat, if you're black and you voted for Trump or you're still supporting Trump, you are delusional. If you think Trump, I've known Trump for 30 years. If you think he's pro-black people, you're completely delusional. I've been to Mar-a-Lago, I don't know how many times, and I've never seen a black person there. And Mar-a-Lago is a huge place. There's 1,000 people there when I used to go there for a fundraiser or an event. Never seen a black person. I've never seen a single black person there. Okay? Trump is not a fan of black people, but you probably didn't see this. If you're still supporting him, you probably didn't see how he snuck this in a couple of days ago. So a couple of days ago, if you're not familiar, Trump pulled back the law that kept federal workers in federal buildings from segregating bathrooms, drinking fountains, work areas from blacks and whites or any other race. Okay, it was always black and white, but that's what the law says. He pulled it. Okay, now we're going back to the days of the early 60s, late 50s, 1950s and before, where there were black colored water fountains is what they called them for coloreds, and white water fountains and restaurants. And now in federal buildings, they can discriminate against you. Okay, let me tell you, if you didn't know that, let me tell you what's next. It's coming. Watch. The Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now, if you don't know your history, that's what Martin Luther King died for, basically. Okay? That's what John Lewis used to march in the streets for. Jesse Jackson, all these guys fought for this to give so people could not discriminate. The government couldn't discriminate, citizens couldn't discriminate, companies couldn't discriminate against people of color. Okay? If he pulls that, we're headed back to 1950. And if you're black, you ain't going to like it. Let me tell you. Okay? I don't know how many of these people that are sending me hate mail that are black are educated people.
I warned you throughout last year that these days would come if people help re-elect Donald Trump. Now, why am I saying this? Because Trump has declared war on black America. What else is it when he orders the military to provide resources to law enforcement and then unleashes those cops and the National Guard into the blackest city in America? And then he promises to unleash them also in other black cities in America. And we know they're coming into black neighborhoods because Trump said that blacks commit most of the crime in this country, which isn't true. And he said that to thunderous applause in a black Detroit church. So, hello, stop and frisk, and bye-bye due process. Bye-bye equal protection. Bye-bye Fourth Amendment. Bye-bye reasonable suspicion, probable cause, see you later, and so forth. I say this because I've been a practicing criminal defense and civil rights attorney for almost 2 decades. And I know what's going on. I know what's coming. Now, to be good for my colleagues and me to have this beefed up law enforcement. But here's the thing. Crime has been on a sharp downward turn since the 1990s. There's no need for militarized cops, but there is a need for some of the very programs that Trump got rid of in order to pass his big ugly bill. Specifically, there's a need for early childhood education. There's a need for Head Start. There's a need to increase the federal minimum wage. There's a need to increase affordable housing. We need him to stop firing black women employees in D.C. I mean, think about that. He's firing so many black women in the federal government that unemployment for black women is rising, and for black people generally. Then he wants to send militarized cops into our neighborhoods at our sons. I mean, that is crazy. In fact, what this is, to be exact, is authoritarianism imposing fascism to protect white supremacy. Once again, this is authoritarianism imposing fascism in order to protect white supremacy. And oh yeah, the pro-black imposters who helped Trump get reelected is now trying to sound outraged that he's doing this to D.C. But he wouldn't be doing this, perhaps, if they hadn't told so many people to either vote for Trump or vote the couch. That is why they're pro-black imposters. Remember.
Y'all, one of the reasons Donald Trump is able to do what he's doing in D.C. with the military takeover there is because the majority of white people are okay with it. And I'm not only talking about MAGA Republicans. The majority of white people are okay with it or indifferent to it. Not all. Gotta say that on the internet because people go crazy, but most. And let me tell you why. The over-policing of black people is as American as apple pie, as they say. Because the whole idea of the police is to over-police black people. That's their main function, no matter what else you think. That's why they were created as slave catchers, and that's why they're there now, to protect white people against black people. And as a matter of fact, that's all through law enforcement, right? You can't be elected to a district attorney job or a sheriff job without running on one single platform, tough on crime. And crime means black people. It doesn't matter whether the statistics are true or not, that's what it means, and that's who gets elected. I'm not just talking about southern or all white cities. You go to the most liberal city in America, and your DA and your sheriff ran on tough on crime. Every single one. And white America wants that. They want a barrier between them and black people. And that barrier, the protectors of that barrier, are law enforcement. And so we have a society that's built around honoring and worshiping and praising these men in blue and women in blue, these men and women in blue, right? They praise them. And so you have Donald Trump put that whole group inside of D.C. and recognizing that there are white people in D.C. It's not an all-black city. And there are white people who protest that. Again, there are white people who protest that. But overall, white people are okay with over-policing, whether it's the military, National Guard, or whomever, as long as it's used against black people. And because of the immigration nonsense, used against Latino communities as well, right? They're okay with that. And so even though you have the overreach of the federal government and the military on the streets of D.C., like you have the military on the streets of L.A., as long as those military people, personnel, are not on the streets of these all-white communities, white people are like, that's all right. They're okay with it. Look, you could draw a line from people who remember when Obama was president, and you might remember the Jade Helm military exercises. Jade, one word, Helm. It was in 2015, I believe, and it was a planned military exercise across 5-7 states or something like that, including Texas and Utah, maybe Missouri or something like that, I don't know. And white people went crazy. They went crazy because they said this was Obama was going to initiate martial law, and the governor was going to take over these states, take over these red states, and I don't know. You know all these kind of weird fantasies they have about Obama was taking over the world and all this kind of stuff. And it got so much publicity that it ended up all across the news. Governor Greg Hot Wheels, Abbott, got involved writing letters to the military, and this stuff had been planned, but they didn't care. They just said Obama was taking over red states and he was going to initiate martial law. And they said it was government overreach and all this kind of stuff, right? All those people are watching Donald Trump put the military in D.C. and they're like, hey, this is great. Because there's never a fear in the United States against the military and against government unless there's black people in that government. And that's all the way from city council to mayor to governor to president to vice president with Kamala Harris. White people are only scared of government when black people are the target of that fear because they are in government. That's it. And so now you have Donald Trump putting all these people, all these military and all these law enforcement apparatus inside D.C. And overall, MAGA people are happy and celebrating it, and leftists are rationalizing and justifying it, and centrists are like apathetic. And that's how he can spread it. He can spread it from one city to the next, to the next, to the next. I don't know if he'll do that, but he could do it because for the most part, as long as he's targeting black people, or like in Los Angeles, mostly targeting brown people, most, not all, but most white people are either okay with it, that's MAGA and celebrating it, rationalize it like leftists, and are indifferent to it like centrists.
Welcome back. Now, those are videos of my white brothers and sisters talking about Donald Trump, and some of the videos about were warning of Trump or DJT to black people. And this is something that black people have been talking about for a very long time. The fact that it's coming on social media, it's good, but black people have been telling out this, and they have been saying, and they've been knowing that DJT is not for them. Let's start when he first, or he even became a president, or before he became a president. Back then, DJT didn't just suddenly develop his views about black people in 2016. He recorded stretches back decades. And it's not record of support, it was a record of harm. For example, in 1970s, the US Justice Department sued the Trump Organization for racial discrimination in housing. And they found that DJT company had systematically refused to rent apartments to black tenants. What that tell you? They even marked black applications with codes to reject them, and that wasn't fake news. If there is a black person who forgot that, let me remind you, it was a court case, it was documented, it wasn't fake news. Again, in 1989, that's back to history, the infamous Central Park 5 case happened. 5 black and Latinos teenagers were wrongfully accused of raping a white woman in Central Park. And this happened with no trial, no evidence. DJT took out full-page ads in New York newspaper calling for the death penalty. Even after the men were proven innocent through DNA evidence, DJT refused to apologize. So think about that. And even when the truth comes out, he stood by his call to execute innocent black boys. Think about that. This is our DJT. And if my black persons, I know, maybe when you are going to vote, I didn't talk about this because I didn't was so good in that in history. But now you know who you are dealing with. Okay? And these are not just actions of someone who values black life. Okay? These are not the actions of someone who value black lives. Now, that was back then. But fast forward to nowadays, DJT has tried or has been putting policies that is hurting black people. Okay? When DJT came on this platform, and he had this slogan, "Make America Great Again," a phrase that for many white Americans means returning to a time before the civil rights movement, before integration, a time where black people were under, before black power began to shake the foundation of the white supremacy. His administrations rolled back police reform efforts that were started by Barack Obama. He removed oversight programs meant to track racial bias and the excessive force in police departments. Remember, this was just during a time when the nation was already boiling over with a case like Fidel Castro, Sandra Bland, and Tamir Rice. DJT pushed a law and order agenda that sounded exactly like Nixon in the 1970s. A coded way to say crack down on black communities without saying it directly. I'll come back to this when I talk about the Southern strategy. So when white supremacists marched chanting "Jews will not replace us," and also threatening black communities, Trump said that there were very fine people on both sides, and that's not leadership. Let me tell you, that's what we call moral cowardice. Now, another thing why I think black people are being warned or must be vigilant with DJT is that he liked to boast about black unemployment hitting record low under his presidency. But what he didn't tell you is that the trend has started years before he came into office. Under Obama, during the recovery from the Great Recession, it was there. And while overall unemployment numbers looked better, the racial wealth gap, or the real measure of economic freedom, did not improve. Black median household wealth remained less than 1/10 that of a white household. Trump's taxes cuts disappropriately benefited corporations and the wealthy, not the average black workers. When we had this Cold War, this virus, I think COVID-19. When COVID-19 hit, black businesses were hit hardest. Many were locked out of the Paycheck Protection Program funds because the system favored established white-owned companies with existing banking relationship. And Trump didn't fix it. He left those barriers in place. Now, I always say history always repeats itself. And this is where history repeats itself. Trump's laws and order language wasn't new. It is the same playbook that used by the Nixon in the low 1960s during what's called the Southern Strategy. And I said I'll come back to this. Nixon and his advisors openly admitted their goal was to win white voters in the South by appealing to their fears about black protests and urban crime. Nixon didn't say black people. He said crime, law, and order. He said welfare reform. And this is why these were dog whistles, coded language that told white voters we are going to put black people back in their places without openly sounding racist. Ronald Reagan took it further in the 1980s with the war on drugs. And this was obviously targeting black neighborhoods with heavier policing and harsher sentences for crack cocaine, and which was more common in black communities than powder cocaine, more common in white communities. And that law destroyed generations of black families. Again, history repeats itself. Bill Clinton carried it into the 1990s with the 1994 crime bill, which accelerated mass incarceration. And Trump revived it, even went ahead tweeting about thugs, calling for the military to be sent into the cities during the George Floyd protest and defending police brutality as roughing them up. It's just the same playbook, but new faces, different clothes. When we as black people are being warned against Donald Trump, is something that we have been knowing it. The typical black person who listens and is for the truth and is for the unity, he knows that Trump or DJT is not representing black people. His or the laws and orders he's trying to put is not for black people. Of course, it is restricting black people. Now, the irony is DJT sold himself to white working class America as their champion, promising to bring back coal jobs, revive manufacturing, and drain the swamp. But coal plants kept closing. Manufacturing continued to shift overseas. Rural hospitals, many in majority white areas, keep shutting down. The opioid crisis worsened. And the heart of it is, if DJT couldn't keep his promises to white America, the group he openly favored, then what chance does black people or black Americans have under his leadership? The truth is, black people were never in his plans. We were never in his agenda, because his agenda has always been about protecting the wealthy, acquiring his bars, and using division to maintain power. And in America, racial hierarchy, like black people are the easiest political scapegoat. There is a danger of believing in someone like DJT. We have seen this pattern too many times. Every election cycle, a politician comes along claiming they will be the one to fix our problems. And too many of us fall for it, even in Africa. It's because we are desperate for change. We need this change. We are desperate for it, and that's why we are falling for it. But history has shown us that from Nixon to Reagan, Clinton to Bush, Obama to Trump, that real liberation doesn't come from the White House. It comes from the ground, from the communities, from the self-resilience and unity. And that's why I'm calling for unity each and every time. Okay? Now white voices are warning black people. That's what I call double edge. Okay? Because white voices are out here. White people are warning black people not to trust DJT. So we should listen carefully, but with wisdom, okay? Sometimes they are telling the truth because they have seen the damage, themselves, but at other times they have their own political motives. And that's why we'll say, for us or for me to believe in a white guy, we need to have a one-on-one discussion, because today I believe you, tomorrow you come against me. Okay? So we can take the information but never hand over our political decision making to outsiders. Our agenda must be ours alone as black people. And the black agenda is not something any US president, Republican or Democrat will ever prioritize unless we force them to. And that means we have to build our own economic power. We must support our own businesses. We must control our own narrative and form political coalition that makes them come to us, not the other way around. Okay? Now, I'll give you a historical example of false political allies like Abraham Lincoln, who freed the enslaved primarily as a war strategy, not out of love for black people, to Lyndon B. Johnson, who signed the Civil Rights Act, but also escalated the Vietnam War that took thousands of black lives. So history is full of leaders who gave with one hand and took with the other one. Okay? And just DJT is just another in that long line. From a Pan-African lens, the lesson is clear. We must build global black unity that does not depend on the political tides of America or of Europe. We must strengthen the ties between Africa and America or Europe, both of them, or Africa and the diaspora, to be precise. Invest in our own lands and create our own destiny. I'll say this, DJT is not for the black agenda. He wasn't for us before the presidency, and he wasn't for us during it. He won't be for us. He won't after it. The only agenda that works for us is the one we design, defend, and deliver ourselves. You see the policies he's trying to put black people back to their farms. You can feel it. I love you. I believe in you. And I know that as long as we stand together, Africa, to the diaspora, young, to old, generation to generation, we will rise beyond any system, any politicians, and any area. Until next episode, peace out.